And the biggest issue was they were the failure of the magnetic pistol of these torpedoes, where they would have a magnetic influence exploder, which was once it connects is gonna detonate the explosive within the warhead. And a lot of the times it actually detonated prematurely. Keep in mind, like the commanders will have to probably calculate the distance and speed, heading, everything of their target, and then set the torpedoes. And if it explodes prematurely, it's gonna do nothing. Or at other times, it would just not even explode. So it's just basically a dud. And the further north you went in terms of the latitude, the worse it became because of the stronger magnetic influences that were exerted. So in the Norwegian campaign, it was just a horrendous time for the crews. And another major problem which was there is the depth issue. Usually the torpedoes are programmed to run at a certain depth, like say 10 feet or 20 feet, whatever that number may be. Despite programming it for a certain depth, they would actually be running even below that. So chances are they could just sail completely underneath the ship. So that was like the big issues with the torpedoes at this time, you could say. And at the turn of 1940, right? So this is also before the Norwegian campaign. The U-boat crews have also taken losses. Out of 50 U-boats that were available, they've lost almost 10 to combat. It's a pretty big blow. And if we consider the rule of thirds that I mentioned earlier, it means there are only 12 to 13 U-boats operating at any given time across theaters, which is nowhere close to the 100 number that Donuts wanted. And
Thanks to
I
Raider.
yeah, and I think this is like a great uh instance of how bad the torpedoes were for the Norwegian campaign. HMS Warspite, a British battleship, was present in the campaign from the Allied side. The U-boats fired about 14 torpedoes at her, and all failed to detonate. A similar number were also fired at the nearby escorts and transports of the Allies. No losses recorded. And this, no doubt, also conversely destroyed the morale of the German U-boat crews, because what's the point, right? You can't have the U-boat duel with a battleship with the surface gun. But after this, we have the situation of the Battle of France, right? Like after the Battle of France, you could say, right? Now, because this is when there's a drastic shift in the war. This is called the happy time. Donitz was very happy when France fell because he rushed a lot of his crews over to France and started building the naval bases, because now the ships don't have to sail all the way back to Germany. Because the route that they would be taking would not be just going through the channel. They would actually be going across Scotland and around the top of the British Isles, because the channel was just too heavily fortified. One of the issues that the British have at this point, Andras and Victor Ornen are some of the great aces, with Shepka and Otto Kretschmer being some of those that actually sank well over 200,000 tons of shipping. So that was a lot. And interestingly enough, this is also where the Wolfpack starts coming in. Dönitz realized if he needs to try to convince Hitler even more to allocate more steel production, he needs the PR. And he was pretty good at that. When U-boat captains would be returning to the French ports after a very successful patrol where they would be sinking merchant ships, he would be there, the media and everything, to get the image out there of the U-boats, right? And he also pioneered, which is where a convoy is pretty hard to find, even if you have like 48 merchant ships. It's not easy. And they try to use the Wolfpack to spread across a line along the expected route.